Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Augustus Hinton and today we're animating a punch. I've never thrown a punch in real life, but I've thrown many in After Effects and I'm here to teach you how to do it effectively even if you don't have fancy rigs. And we've all probably tried to do this because you know the basic sort of keyframes and you're like, I know how a punch works, and then it looks weak sauced and you're trying to have it look freaking cool. So we're gonna up level your punch today in After Effects. Let's go right now. Okay, let's do it. Okay, we're jumping in part way. I am not gonna go over how I've rigged this arm. It is just 3 pieces. We have our shoulder bicep thing with its anchor point here. We have our forearm overlapping in this nice circle with our bicep with the anchor point here, and then we have a couple hands just for some different looks, but basically you just need a fist or a hand or whatever with the wrist anchored right in here, and then the hand is parented to the forearm and the forearm is parented to the shoulder bicep. That's it. I'm not going to go over the full mechanics of, you know, the person attached to this arm. That's like a whole thing. This is meant to be all about impact, and impact that can be used in this context, but also in the context of, like, you know, sort of regular motion graphics or other types of animation. So that's where we're starting. And this is our cool target, this purple circle. Okay. And, you know, we all know what punches look like. You've probably gotten this far where you're like, okay, here's my arm. It winds up and then it punches and then it, you know, hangs out. There's like some follow through or whatever. And you know how to do that, and then you try to add some easy ease and all your timing and stuff, and you get something like this where you're like, you know, I've got this cool wind up and I added my easy ease and then I punch really quick and then I lower, but I don't like this and I feel bad about this as an animation myself as an animator, and you're like, what's going on? Let's solve that. Let's unpack that. Okay. And so we're going to start with just this anticipation moment here. So to focus on that, I'm going to move all my keyframes forward just a quick second and just put the punch and follow through keyframes just over here. We're just going to have them chill over here. We're not going to worry about them because they're going to get in our way. So what we're going to do first, and you'll notice that I have just some rotation keyframes and I move this position back a little bit. That's all that I've done is just rotate and move that guy. And then switch out the hands with just some opacity hold keyframes. So this guy disappears as this guy appears. Easy enough. And what we're going to do is first, I think, exaggerate this even a tad. You know what? No, we're not. What we're going to do first is mess with the easy ease of this. So I'm going to click on the rotation. Actually get rid of scale here. We don't need that for now. Click on the rotation. Let's look at the motion graph path of this. Move this up a tad. We're going to have this draw back pretty quickly. So we're going to increase that, and we're going to do the same with the forearm too. And instead of going into my graph editor, I'm going to use the Motion V2 plugin. It's so handy. This is not an ad. I just love it. I love my graph and I am in love with Matt. And we're just going to crank the easy ease to this up instead of having to go into a graph editor and adjust that bar. So we're going to have it shoot up a bit more because, you know, you're going to get into position quickly in order to throw this punch, because again, this is a quick motion meant to not be dodged and you're trying to strike someone, right? That's like the whole thing. Or you're trying to animate a strike, as though I've ever punched someone in my life. So we're going to increase the speed of that. And then we're also going to sort of in tandem with the rotations here. I might move this back even to increase the speed more, but also to stagger this a little bit because I don't want the whole movement to happen all at once. I want there to be some follow through of these other parts. And I feel like I staggered it a bit too much there. We're going to do the same thing with the hand and some rotation. So let's start this. We're going to tilt him, not him. Let's actually do both of these because they're kind of operating as the same hand, right? And I'm just switching between them with opacity. So let's do a let's rotate this down so that it's kind of dragging behind this forearm, right, for just a quick second. So let's do that. And then we can have him kind of crank up. Oops, that's scale. To this sort of wound up position. Not quite forward, but just a little bit more wound up so that there's more sort of spring action that can happen, right? And that, you know, it's a bit much, this sort of follow through, so we're going to reduce that down. And let's also make sure we're kind of on a similar easy ease amount. Oops, did I even do that right? Here, let's watch this again. Okay, that feels a little bit better to me. We're also going to add sort of this quick motion at first. So I might even make this a little faster. So it's pretty quick. And then I want one additional kind of extra squeeze into an even tighter position to increase this idea of winding up and sort of building the strength and anticipation. And it also allows for a really quick motion here, and then also a moment for the viewer to rest on this keyframe to understand what's happening. Because that's going to be really important with these fast motions. It's just a couple, like a frame or two on, you know, these keyframes, as they're called. So let's go forward just a tad in time. Doesn't matter how much, but just a couple frames. And rotate him up a bit more. And squeeze this guy in a bit more. That's the wrong way. Just a little. Let's see, the fist we're gonna leave. I don't, you know, if we do too much, that just looks silly. So let's leave him there. So now we have that, and it's not obviously looking like quite the way we want it to. I want it to be a fluid motion kind of between these two things. Let's push him out even a bit more. And what we can do here, you can click, you know, since it's the rotation keyframes that we're messing with, right? In fact, let's get rid of this guy to be less confusing. Click on all of these. I'm gonna hit R again, and now we can just focus on our rotation keyframes. For my shoulder and forearm, I'm gonna focus on these keyframes right here. First, I'm going to command click on them twice until I get this circle. I think this is called a follow-through keyframe. I don't quite remember. It's like a constant speed. Maybe that's what it is. So it's kind of more smoothly connecting the two keyframes on either side of it. And what does that even give us? It gives us something weird, because right now it's going too fast through here, and so it needs to compensate by going in the opposite direction for a second to get back to its end goal. We don't want that. We don't want this for this line. In fact, let's just focus on the one. Where'd you go? We don't want this line to dip below. Oh my gosh, to dip below here. So we're gonna click on this, which is our sort of initial pose, and then this is the extra squeeze. For this, we're gonna lower it until we can see that we quickly get here, and then we kind of slowly squeeze into this last position, but we don't go below this line. So it's now all positive above the line. Let me move this out here too as I'm talking. Just kind of squeeze in there quicker. So now we get this quick thing, and then this extra squeeze here, which feels, you know, like he's really winding up, he or she. And now let's click on the shoulder. Is that right? And the rotation of the shoulder. And we're gonna do the same thing. This one actually doesn't look too bad. I am gonna lower it just because it looks like it might dip under, but still we kind of want it to match that same speed. So this is rotating in a different direction. So we're below this zero line, which is fine. We just have to stay on the same side of it. So I'm gonna stretch this out like I did with the other guy to have him squeeze in there a bit quicker. And this looks pretty similar now, because we're still staying on one side of this line. Let's get out of our graph editor, zoom out with Alt wheel down on my mouse, and take a look at this. Okay, so quick into this pose, a little extra squeeze there that people are gonna feel. You know, it's subtle, and you can certainly exaggerate this a bit more. I may even do that with this forearm because it looks like it's kind of just lifting. Let's do that. Yeah, that feels good to me. And one thing we're gonna do before we add our punch keyframes back over here is we are going to just, I'm gonna get rid of these scale keyframes because I didn't need them right now. Okay. That's feeling good. Before we add our punch keyframe back over here, I'm gonna add a wall of all of these keyframes. I don't need the opacity for this, but for like the scale and the rotation and position, those are all gonna be affected on some of these next frames. So, but I want everything to start from the values that this is at here. So let's just do a wall. So I have all the things that I'm working with on my left, on the shoulder, and then forearm and fist. Those are all good. And also it allows us a chance to stay in this moment for a second. You can sort of have power over how long you want it to stay here, but giving it just a moment will increase that power and kind of build up that tension. So we can adjust this, but I'm going to do just a couple frames. Even after we're all the way squeezed, I am going to give it 2 more frames. We can adjust that later if we want, but for now, that's what we're doing. And so now my punch keyframes are here. Grab them, shift them over, and oh my gosh, we punch, amazing. And this looks terrible, right? Even if we do like, 2 frames. It's faster, which is good, but like, what is this? That's not a punch thing, right? Unless you're doing some uppercut. We're not doing an uppercut. We're doing a standard, I don't know, left hook. A standard punch in the face punch. And this is not right. That's not doing anybody any favors. So what we're gonna do to make this look not like this is kind of do a faux, we're gonna push this arm kind of backwards in space to pivot from here to look like he's swinging, not doing an uppercut, but kind of swinging on a, keeping it at the same level that it was at, like keeping it here. So it's more of a straight line, right? Instead of swinging down. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna fudge kind of the appearance of this rather than create a new image or draw something new if that's not like a great skill of yours. So we're gonna swing this shoulder back, which seems counterintuitive, but trust me for just a moment. Maybe like this in comparison. And we'll also move him forward because we want him to be moving. And then we're gonna swing the forearm, oh my gosh, swing him, not scale him, forward like that. So it kind of looks like, this is coming out from like your right shoulder. You're kind of doing this arc and swinging forward a bit. It helped if you could see my body in real life, but you can't. And then we're going to adjust the scale of this to make it look like more of a thing. Because right now it's like not too much of a thing. So in order to feel like this sort of the shoulder or bicep area is swinging away from us in space, we're gonna mess with the scale. You're gonna go to your scale, and mine is already unbroken. So you wanna break that link so you can adjust these properties separately. Don't worry that mine is at 49%, yours is probably at 100, it doesn't matter, that's fine. I'm going to shrink it like this so that it kind of feels like that elbow is going away from us. And I might even shrink it down just a tad, make it slimmer to kind of stretch it out. And then I am going to, with the forearm, do a more exaggerated stretch. So there we go. We're gonna squish him down like that, and then stretch him forward a little bit too. And then we're gonna do the same thing to the fist that we did to the forearm. So we're gonna break the scale, the link of the scale, and we're gonna stretch him. He doesn't stretch quite as cleanly because he's sort of on this diagonal orientation, but we're gonna stretch that fist out, squish it down, and I'm gonna rotate him to create more of this line. And let's see, I think I want this to be longer. or I want this stretch to be exaggerated more. So let's stretch out this forearm. Let's bring him up a little to create sort of one more cohesive line. And let's, you know, it's gonna look so bizarre as you work on it, but this is gonna be one frame long, and you're just like not gonna see this. You're just gonna like feel this, which sounds hokey, but it's a real thing. Okay, so now we have this anticipation going into this forward motion, and then the rest of it is this punch. Let's look at that. Let's just do, all right, that is feeling better. I feel like there's some quick motion happening right here. I dig it. I do feel like I could even swing this down. I could swing this down a little bit to continue with, did I do more than I wanted there? To sort of more closely match this shape, so we are kind of, our arc is going this way just a little bit. Nice, okay. Great, I feel good about that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go forward one keyframe from this punch keyframes, right? And I'm gonna copy and paste all of these because they're all relevant. And then I'm going to do it again, which seems like annoying, but it's okay. So let's paste these. So we have right here 3 sets of the same keyframes for all of these. And what we're gonna do is on this first impact, we're gonna mess with it quite a bit. And then we're gonna go back to this regular punch, and then we're just gonna sit on the punch for a couple seconds. This initial punch needs more power than what these images can give in their regular state. So we're gonna mess with scale again. So what I would like to do is make the power, you know, come from here and end here. So this fist is like all the impact, right? So what we're gonna do is start with this shoulder bicep thing, and we are going to, since we were moving from right to left, kind of continue that moment into this punch. So let's scale him. We're gonna shrink him down, kind of stretch him out more, and then stretch him long, because I still want it to feel like this quick motion that he's doing with this arm. And so we're gonna do that with this piece, and that power is kind of being transferred here as this middleman, right? And he's got some muscles here that affect this. So for our forearm, he's been stretched out because he's parented here. So I think the stretch forward feels okay for now. Let's kind of stretch him, let's make him thick, like a, you know, thick boy. And he's flexing these muscles. You know, as you clench your fist, you can really feel that forearm bulge up. So let's emphasize that and give the forearm its moment, you know. So let's start there, and then let's also, for this fist, we're gonna link these to the scale again. Don't worry about my numbers, yours can be whatever. We're gonna increase him, and maybe, you know what, let's actually do him forward just a bit, or kind of stretch him out just a bit as well. And that looks like probably goofy right now, considering that's what our normal fist looks like, and you just did this thing. Ooh, excuse me. How well we've even got that. I'm gonna quickly adjust these position keyframes here. This has a motion path on it that I don't want. I'm gonna hit G twice to bring up this, once. To bring up, I don't even know what this is, the little keyframe converter. Okay. So basically I got rid of the motion handles on these identical position keyframes because it was moving between them and wiggling, and I hated that. Okay, here we go. So now we have this extra sense of power, and I'm gonna exaggerate this a bit more. I love the feeling, especially if you go back and forth, of this shoulder kind of stretching out and giving everything to this forearm to then transfer it to the fist, and that's the feeling that we want. So I'm gonna actually exaggerate that a bit more because I'm really loving the way that that feels and looks. So let's squish him down a bit more and maybe stretch him out even a tad more. And I know it's counter keying, which is not great practice, but this is kind of a quick fix, and I think it's still useful. So to counter key, to counter that, I'm going to beef him up again. Maybe even shrink him. Well, no. I love how this is exaggerated. We're going to beef him up, the thickness of it, to counter that, and also feel like this is just flying through. And I feel good about that. And it's nice to then see this transfer of energy then go back into the shoulder after it's done, right? So we can really feel that. Amazing. So we've done that, and now we have these few frames where he just has his fist there, he or she has his fist there. I might even reduce that. It's just going to help to add impact, and we can kind of like hold on that moment and look at this keyframe for a second so we can register what happened and appreciate the power of it. And I think these are our, I'm going to hit Command A, U twice. Let's bring these resting or follow through keyframes over here. They might need some work, and that's okay. They sure do. So I can already see now that I've added keyframes over here. Oh my gosh, let's extend that out. That I want my punch to hang out there for just a second more. So let's just Alt right arrow those over one. Give these a bit more time, the follow through position, and let's see. The easy ease on this is just like not good. So let's select these, the ease out, which is on motion V2 right up here. I'm gonna do, I don't know, like 50 just to get something going. And then we can also do like 50 here to the incoming frames. And I feel like okay with that. One thing we're for sure gonna do is, let's exaggerate this position. Let's move him further. Let's make this rotation go down a bit more. And then let's also stagger these keyframes too. So let's have the position happen first, and then the rotation can kind of get into its resting position after that for this shoulder bicep area. After that, the forearm will kind of settle into its spot, and then the hand after, just so we get a sense of, non-perfection for this movement, which is what we want. One thing I'll do quick to emphasize it. Let's adjust our happy little target here with scale. Why don't we move his anchor point? We can do that either by hitting Y, doing this, doing the whole snap thing, or with motion V2. Click on this little toggle, click this left, of the center icon, puts your anchor point right there. So amazing. Okay, let's keyframe the scale here because he's good. Let's go forward one with Command right, one frame, and then he's getting hurt. Oh my gosh. Or she's getting hurt, who knows? Let's unlink the scale, squish him this way. Let's do like 50%. We don't have to go up to 200, but let's do like 150. That feels like appropriate enough. Wham bam, gets hit. And then, I'm not gonna have this jiggle, but I am gonna have it oscillate back down to its original shape. So let's go, we stretched it up, right? So let's stretch it out. So let's do, thinking about our numbers 50 and 150 here, let's do like 125 to stretch it out, and then like 75 to squish it. So it's the same idea, but maybe a little bit less intense, right? Let's do one more with, let's say, instead of 125, we'll do like 110, just, to go the other direction, and then we'll do like 90. So it's a less intense version of this, right? And then we can go back to 0. Or, it's not 0, but 100 and 100, the original state. Yeah. Jiggle, it does jiggle. I said I wasn't gonna make it jiggle. But it kind of oscillates back. So we get just some follow through because nothing's happening here and we want it to kind of stay that way. This just reinforces what just happened, of course. And then we can, move our arm and wham bam. Ooh, one more quick thing we're gonna do is it's technically self-promotion, and I'm just like not gonna apologize for it. I've imported an old After Effects project in which I created a burst. When I say burst, I mean burst. And we're gonna add that above our target and below our fist because it's gonna help reinforce that you have just hit something. And that feels cool and great, and I love it. There's a tutorial for how to do this on my channel. It's called Burst Tutorial. So please, that's something that you can do to really spice up these situations or impact of any kind. I recommend that you use it because it's like easy to follow and super useful in like so many situations. Shameless self-plug. I want to apologize. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you learned something and liked the video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's super helpful and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much and have a great day.